What's up, everyone? Welcome into Dodger Heads presented by DodgerBlue.com. My name is Jeff Spiegel, and today we are talking Kenley Jansen. Kenley Jansen, a modern day Dodger legend, 33-year-old relief pitcher who holds Dodger records for saves and appearances. But we're also talking about a guy who's 33 years old, a guy who's got 1 year left on his contract, and we have to ask, what exactly do the Dodgers have in Jansen, and maybe more specifically, what does he have left? Okay, we're coming off a 2020 season in which the Dodger bullpen, believe it or not, was great. Third in all of baseball in wins above replacement, second in ERA, second in FIP, and yet they also were tied for ninth in blown saves. They had 9 of them, and Jansen was obviously the biggest culprit. This is a guy who's been the Dodger closer for such a long time, and it leads to the question that Dodger fans have been asking a little more loudly as time has gone on. Is Kenley Jansen still the guy for the Dodgers? In the LA Times on Friday morning, Dave Roberts was quoted by Jorge Castillo, quote, "The best case scenario is that Kenley Jansen is our closer, but that is solely dependent on him." Let me say that again. The best case scenario is Kenley is our closer, but that is solely dependent on him. This comes on the heels of Andrew Friedman a week ago saying, "It's safe to say we have some work to do in the bullpen." But what does all this mean for Jansen? Okay, let's remember who we're talking about. This is a guy from 2012 to 2017 who was arguably the best relief pitcher in all of baseball. He paced the league in wins above replacement. He was second in saves, fifth in inning pitched, fifth in strikeouts per 9, sixth in ERA, second in FIP. We're talking about over 6 seasons, a 2.07 ERA, striking out 1.5 batters an inning, barely walking anyone, and converting 90% of his save chances. And then he went from great to really good. 2018, 3.01 ERA, which is fine. It's not great, but it's good. His strikeout per 9 dropped a bunch, and his FIP soared over 4. 2019, again, ERA up to 3.71. The peripherals improved. K to 9 is up. FIP is down. 2020, this last year, 3.33 ERA. I mean, again, many of us probably have a far worse number in our head when we think about Jansen in 2020, but the peripherals improved. Strikeout per 9 has gone up each of the last 3 seasons. His FIP has gone down each of the last 3 seasons, although neither of those is anywhere near the 2017 level. And the reason behind all of this is velocity. I know Dave Roberts has said constantly, hey, I don't care what the mile per hour is on his cutter. I just care about movement. I care about how he feels. Well, I don't think it's a coincidence that his cutter was in the 94 mile an hour range at his peak, and now it's down to 90.9 miles an hour, right? Jansen's one of these guys that you know within 2 pitches what you're getting. Every time he comes in, I tweet, "Welcome to the Kenley Jansen experience." Is this going to be the fun Kenley Jansen experience where guys are swinging through everything? Or is this going to be the horrifying Kenley Jansen experience where everything is making contact? One of those guys is elite. The other guy is borderline below average. Now, if there's one thing working in Jansen's favor when it comes to is he the closer, it's this. There isn't really an obvious choice out there yet to replace him. And I'll note, I'm pro not having a traditional closer who just is your best guy, always pitches the ninth. I'd prefer throw your best guy into the most high leverage situations, etc. But even then, I don't think there's an obviously better choice than Jansen. The Dodgers acquired Corey Knebel. If you missed our video on him, go check that out. I think he's the best bet to replace him. A lot of his stuff when he was at his peak pre-Tommy John surgery was elite. And if the Dodgers can get back there and a guy who's not even 30 yet, I think that's good. I think there's guys like Brusdar Graterol, Victor Gonzalez who are options. Graterol's the one that everyone seems to like. My issue, Graterol doesn't strike anybody out. It doesn't make sense. He throws 103. His stuff is nasty, but his strikeout rate is not anywhere near where it needs to be a closer. Victor Gonzalez, really good this past season, some big moments in the postseason, but we probably need to see him replicate it before we hand him too much. Caleb Ferguson, another guy who was great, but he's going to be out all of this season. The other elephant in the room, which has been mentioned by folks like Andy McCullough of The Athletic, what about Julio Urias? Well, stay tuned. Next week, I'm going to do a deep dive on Urias, but the short version is I'm not sure. Does Urias have the stuff to be an elite back-end guy? We know what he did in Game 7 of the NLCS. We know what he did in Game 6 of the World Series. But does he have the elite stuff, or is he more valuable as a starter? Remember, we're talking about a former top prospect who is just 24 years old with Urias. So back to Jansen. I think part of his problem, especially with Dodger fans, is he will forever be compared to 2017 Kenley Jansen, which was one of the greatest performances by a relief pitcher ever. If you look at FIP, Jansen posted the 3rd best mark by a relief pitcher ever behind Craig Kimbrell in 2012 and Eric Gagne's steroid-infused 2003. Now, 2020, Jansen is solid, but he's not an elite closer. He's a guy who's been in big moments, whose best moments are still elite, but those moments are becoming less and less consistent. For me, to hear Roberts say the best case scenario is that Jansen is the closer is mind-boggling, because you're either praying for a miracle or praying for a disaster. What I mean is that you're either praying for a miracle that Jansen turns back the clock and becomes 2017 Kenley, which is unlikely, or a disaster in that is Jansen just going to, or are the Dodgers not going to do anything around him to put better options out there? Of all the things Dave Roberts has had to manage as a manager, navigate as a manager, his actions have made clear that this is the issue that he is least comfortable with. By all accounts, Kenley Jansen still thinks he has it, right? Remember the stare down in Game 5 of the NLCS. And so telling that guy, who has been the guy for over a decade, that he isn't anymore isn't easy, especially when it's someone like Kenley Jansen. And yet, I would say it needs to happen, and it needs to happen soon. The best thing the Dodgers could do is go out and sign a guy like Liam Hendriks, who unfortunately Castillo's piece says they have not reached out to. Or go trade for a guy like Josh Hader, someone who would just become immediately the clear option. You wouldn't even have to explain it to Jansen, hey, look, this is a no-brainer. But as long as they surround him with guys that he thinks he's better than, it's going to be an issue. Now, it's his last year under contract. He's making $20 million, and he'll be a free agent. Can Jansen turn back the clock, or will he accept a new role gracefully? Both of those seem unlikely. But as of now, the question remains, do the Dodgers have a better option? Let us know what you think in the comments below. Who do you want to be the closer for the Dodgers in 2021? As always, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Click the notification bell so you'll get updates when we do post these videos. As always, check out DodgerBlue.com for all the latest updates. My name is Jeff Spiegel. You can find me on Twitter at @JeffSpiegel. We appreciate you for checking us out and enjoy your weekend.